with coverage you can count on. This is the Erie News Nowcast.
Good evening, I'm Kristen Allen. Thanks for joining us for tonight's edition of the Erie News Nowcast. Advisors to the Food and Drug Administration have endorsed Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine for children aged 5 to 11. So here's what that means. Today's meeting is the first step toward expanding vaccinations to 28 million young children ages 5 to 11. If regulators agree, shots could begin early next month. Now, the doses would be a third of the dose that's already given to teens and adults. A study found kid-sized vaccinations are nearly 91% effective at preventing symptomatic infection. And parents and pediatricians are anxiously awaiting until they can get their children vaccinated, including a father of 2 young children here in Erie. Michael Spellman has a son and a daughter. He says they have been doing everything they can to stay safe as a family during the pandemic, from social distancing to masking up and even switching schools. Now, despite all of that, his son still contracted the virus. However, Spellman says he still plans on getting his children vaccinated.
When vaccines first came out, we said, all right, Luke we'll let Luke decide if he wants to get it. We were worried about what long-term effects it has, but, after a quick, conversation with our pediatrician, he was absolutely on board and said, I'm for this.
Local pediatrician Dr. Moore says we should start to see these vaccines roll out in the next few weeks to a month. And Erie News Now has election coverage you can count on, and candidates across the region are racing to earn your vote next week. We're just a week away from Election Day now, and money is pouring in and out of campaigns as they race to the finish line. Between Brenton Davis and Tyler Titus, the Erie County executive race has seen more than $700,000 invested in it. It's a lot of money, but the bigger story perhaps isn't the total, but it's where the money comes from. Now, both Davis and Titus have relied heavily on one big donor apiece. For Davis, that's a local lawyer, Roger Richards. He's given more than $180,000 to the Davis campaign. Meanwhile, Titus's effort is financed heavily by Chris Abele, a former Milwaukee County executive who's given more than $200,000 to the Democratic candidate. Davis's camp says the Titus campaign has been bought by an outsider, but Titus says Davis has a big donor too, and campaign money does not equal influence.
It doesn't matter that they're getting $10 or $20 from this person or that person. What matters is who's buying them.
The donations that he has made into this have allowed us to reach more voters. It's allowed us to get out and connect with more people, but that's where it stops.
Election Day is 1 week from today. It's November 2nd. Make sure to tune in to Erie News Now for all evening for complete election coverage. We'll be with the candidates breaking down the races that matter most to this area. And as the weather cools down, people across our region are starting to reach for the thermostat. Our Keelan Berrien explains that there are a few things you should check out before cranking up the heat.
Space heaters and furnaces are being used more because of the temperature change. But before you use them, check around your house first for the correct placement. This could help your house from catching fire.
Biggest things is people use space heaters, portable space heaters, too close to something combustible.
Donald Sire, fire investigator at Erie Fire Department, says beds and couches are popular spots to place space heaters, but they aren't always safe.
You need to leave enough space in between the unit and anything that's combustible.
The placements can cause house fires. Sire says to read your space heater's instruction manual.
Common sense is a big thing. That's a lot of issues we see as people not thinking before they do something.
According to Sauer, plugging your heaters into extension cords is also an issue. The most common cords used are the small green, brown, and white cords. The orange cords are safer for higher watts, and if given too much, it has surge protection.
You should always plug a space heater directly into a wall outlet like this. You don't want to plug it into an extension cord or into a power strip.
Sauer also says to check your smoke detectors monthly. Not only do they check for smoke, but for high carbon monoxide levels. Coming up at 6, I will tell you more on the importance for these detector checks. Reporting from Erie Fire's Department, Keelan Berrien, Erie News Now.
And before we know it, the Erie Bank Sports Park on Oliver Road will be up and running, bringing hundreds of teams from around the region back to Erie. The first step in getting these tournaments to the area is, of course, laying out a new playing surface. The green carpet rolling out today FIFA approved and is designed to prevent injuries such as concussions. Now, this dome is expected to have teams practicing in it as soon as Monday, and full tournaments will be played inside on November 7th. Erie Sports Center owners tell us they're excited for this phase of remodeling to be completed and bring back more sports to the Erie area.
So we feel like we're bringing, sport as a whole, not just soccer, not just baseball, but sport as a whole to another level in Erie.
Obviously very exciting. I'm passionate about sport, right? I'm particularly passionate about soccer, passionate about developing kids, giving back to the community. And so doing this ticks all those boxes.
Tonight on Erie News Now at 11, more on Erie Bank Sports Parks developments and what's next for the sports complex. And that does it for this edition of the Erie News Nowcast. We thank you for joining us. Join us for our next news at 10 p.m. on the CW and 11 p.m. on WICU and WSEE. Have a great night.